Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. I'm your host, Susan, and I'm here with Ed, Jen, Julie, and Dave. And we are here to read a short story excerpt, middle grade. It's called Stack Up the Words by Bailey Tamayo. Tamayo, we couldn't decide. And
You say Tamayo and I say Tamayo.
And the summary is, Elliot breaks into the middle school mostly because she can. It's not as abandoned as she thought. Julie.
Stack Up the Words by Bailey Tamayo. She breaks into the middle school because it looked abandoned, and because it's easy, and because it's there. It's 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, and she has nothing better to do anyway. She climbs into the cafeteria through the open window, but she doesn't even know if it counts as breaking in when the thing's unlocked, and listens to the screech of the window echoing around the room, and back to her. Her phone buzzes in her pocket, too loud in the quiet. She ignores it. Stepping further into the dark, she surveys the room. The watery moonlight throws shadows across the floor, and it seems smaller than she remembers. A second later, the lights flicker to life, and she's nowhere near the switch. It's not easy to surprise her, but she's got to say she wasn't expecting the janitor. He's a monolith of a man, big, solid, rectangular, all muscle, older, early 30s at least. He's wearing a janitor uniform, and he's got a mop in his hand, but there's military in the set of his spine, in the hard, regimented lines of him, in the way his eyes track the room. He's got scars, some subtle, some not so subtle. There's a definite gravity to him. His mass has a pull that draws all her attention, and she can't help but stare. But maybe that's just his hair. It's a wild thing, dark and everywhere, and anything but the regulation crew cut she's familiar with, held back from his face with a band. It looks like it's trying to eat his face, and his head, and his body, and sort of everything. He's staring back at her, a crinkle in his heavy brow. "Hi," she says, walks up to him and offers her hand, because if she doesn't have to be on this guy's bad side, she doesn't want to be. "I'm Elliot." He frowns, but at least he doesn't say, "That's a boy's name," which wins him points in her book. He has soldier's hands, scarred and rough and dwarfing her own in sheer size, but he takes surprising care in folding their hands together and shaking. Once. It's very warm. She says, "What's your name?" He doesn't answer for a moment, just keeps frowning with both hands back on the mop, and keeps on frowning until she thinks he's going to kick her out. But then, Endy. His voice is gruff, but it's not as gruff as she expected. She likes it immediately. It sounds the way her mom's hand felt when she scritched it through her short hair. "See you later, alligator," she would say. Scritch, scritch, scritch. "Is that your name?" He nods once. "You're working this late?" He lifts the mop as an answer. "Can I stay?" His frown cuts a little deeper, and she says quickly, "I won't bother you. Just a little while, and then I'll go." He still looks like he's going to say no, but his mouth twists up, and he nods again. He dips the mop into a bucket that she didn't notice, and then he's working, paying her no mind, just like that. She bites the inside of her cheek to keep from smiling. He sweeps the mop in big, swirling circles, his face contorted with the painstaking care he takes, and she goes back to sit on the windowsill as he works. She plays games on her phone, and she plays music, first with headphones and then out loud to see what he'll do. Continue to not pay attention, apparently. Start tapping his foot later. She has to bite her cheek harder at that. She sits on the sill and ignores the buzz of messages on her phone and watches the floor on its steady progression from dull to shine, until finally, "Hey." The janitor, Endy, is looking at her. He holds up a ring of keys, tilting his head toward the doors. "Time to lock up." The floor is spotless and gleaming, and for a second she's hesitant to put her sneakers down, but then she figures that if he minded, he wouldn't have let her stay. She scoots down from the sill and stuffs her phone back in her pocket. "Thanks for letting me stay," she says. And he nods. There's a softness around his mouth, she thinks, that she didn't see before. It reminds her of her mother's smile, even though his mouth is still unsmiling. "I know a diner around here that serves burgers half off after 8. Come with me." She's already out of the cafeteria, heading to the front doors. Behind her, Endy is frowning again as he closes the doors and twists the keys in them. "You should go home," he says, but follows. He walks almost like he's marching, each step measured and solid. She finds it a familiar comfort. "Curfew's not till later," she says easily. Not a lie. Her phone buzzes away in her pocket. "We'll have to walk to the diner. not supposed to get in cars with strangers. So they walk to the diner. It's 10:30 and the place is mostly empty. The hostess had painted lips and they twist down at the sight of them. Elliot's not surprised. They must look funny. She's pretty small as it is, but next to Andy's hulking mass, she must look minuscule. He has to hunch to get through the doorway. Under the hostess's scrutinizing glare, she thinks he might be twiddling his thumbs. She ordered a soda and a burger, half price, like she said, and he doesn't. He gets a milkshake, chocolate. Surprise number 2, thinks Elliot. I thought you'd get a burger, she tells him, or a steak. When they get their food, she tucks into her burger right away. He wraps both hands around the glass and takes small sips. Do you have a speech problem? She asks. He looks up from his milkshake, one brow raised, but doesn't say anything. Shakes his head. You just don't like to talk. He nods, and she nods back, considering. That's cool. Do you mind that I talk? Head shake. Good. So she talks. She talks and chats and fills the silence up, layers upon layers of words, until the space between them is full of her voice. She's a master of small talk. Every now and then he grunts or hums in acknowledgement or asks one-word questions. The military never leaves his shoulders, but some of the rigidity does. The ends of his hair get in the milkshake. It makes her smile. At length she asks, what branch were you? He stares and she says, my mom's in the military. You look like her, by way of explanation. Not a lie, not really. Well, half of one. Half-truths are the best lies, she's found. He does look like her. The way he holds himself so soldier-like, the way he holds his milkshake so mom-like. Careful, with both hands around the glass. The lie is in the present tense. Marines, he says. And she says, why'd you leave? His mouth goes tight around the corners, and his entire expression goes dark with emotion. It's amazing, she thinks, how such a tiny detail can make such a huge difference in the composition of his face. She only realizes a few seconds later when he says, hair, that it's because he's trying not to laugh, and it takes her a few seconds more of staring at his very regulation hair to realize he's making a joke. She laughs so hard she snorts soda up her nose. Hey, she says, still snuffling into the paper napkin he handed her. Do you work tomorrow too? He nods. Can I come by again? He frowns. Parents, he says. They won't mind. Another half-truth. She really doesn't think her mom would have minded. Her phone's on the table, and when it buzzes, it skitters an inch or two. Andy eyes it. Parents? A question this time. No. Not a lie, because it's not her parents, plural, it's her dad, singular. Andy's eyebrows sink on his face. He doesn't believe her. Should answer it. It's fine. Probably worried. He's not. The phone buzzes just as she realizes that she gave away too much. She stands abruptly. I should go. His eyebrows have climbed back up his forehead now, surprised, but he doesn't stop her. He does slide some bills onto the table as she's sliding her phone away and fumbling for crumpled money in her pocket. Thanks for the burger, she says, already walking backwards to the door. I'll buy it next time. She flicks her hood up, pushes the door open. Hey. She turns. He's watching her, frowning, still sitting at the table. His heavy brow is lowered. The tips of his wild hair still coated in chocolate. His hands still wrapped around the glass. They look better like that, she thinks. They're better as milkshake glass hands than soldier hands. Andy says, be careful, gruff and sincere. And Elliot thinks of her mother. Thinks, scritch, scritch, scritch. Yeah, she says, sure. See you later, alligator.
I think this is a terrific story.
I really like this.
I really liked it. There's almost nothing I can write about it, except that to me the voice is more of maybe young adult. Because if I think middle grade and I think of like a 12-year-oldish girl going off with some janitor, then that bothers me.
Question.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe I can understand it, but it still bothers me. But it's because of how she's so observant and so careful in what she sees and how she speaks. That's why, to me, this is the girl's a bit older than middle grade. I see it as more like maybe 17-ish, something like that.
Yeah, I like this a
really
lot.
Loved it.
Excellent word choices. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There are so many places where it's like, yeah, that is the perfect word. And it's not like she's using big words.
Right.
She's
Give
moving
an
words
example.
like scoot,
Yes.
you know, which is like the perfect word for that place.
Yes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Go ahead, you're done?
No, yeah.
There's an elegance to the writing.
Yep.
And the way I define elegant is taking something difficult and making it look simple.
Yep.
That whole conversation an experience in the diner where there is an absence of conversation, yet you know there's something still going on, is just terrific. I'm not even sure that I see an older person. I see a very sophisticated, a kid who's been on her own for a long time. She's been making investigations here, making investigations there, doing things on her own, making decisions. She can handle herself in a situation. She didn't run screaming from the school when she had guts. I mean, she was there. She was terrific. I see them both as perfect companions, both as outcasts. She's going in there alone. She is not with friends sneaking in to wreck the place. She's just investigating on her own. She's a loner. The guy, I assume, has had some military injuries, rendering him less than communicative. And with her, it's perfect.
It works.
She'll fill the conversation. He'll sit there and grunt and she'll.
Well, because she misses her mom, right? So it's almost like she's talking to her mother.
I have no
When
idea.
she goes on and on and on, that's what a daughter would do if her mom wasn't there to talk to.
Okay, now let's go into another situation. You can't impose your morals or your values on the character on the page.
Well, how am I doing that?
Because that's what a girl would do, you said.
Well, that's what a child would. They
morals,
only say
she's
child.
relating.
It's not a moral. It's just
Relating to.
the daughter, the mother hasn't been there to talk to. Let's assume for months.
Okay, well,
So
and
now
that's fine
here's-
too.
That's
fine
how I
too.
see it. Not as
But the relationship works for me because they're both desperately in need of companionship.
agreed.
Yeah.
It's I found it.
Is there a relationship? She says, I'll buy next time. Are they really going to get together next time? I don't know.
Well,
Well, she'll
again,
break
you
it
can't
again
you
at the
can't
same
impose
time,
that.
right?
I'll read further on this. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
this is
Definitely.
terrific.
Yeah,
I'd
I
love
would
to see
definitely
more.
keep reading.
Something to
Juno,
point
the movie Juno.
Yeah, great movie.
I saw Juno in this young girl.
But Juno was 15, and that's beyond
Well,
middle
15's
grade,
fine.
right?
That's young
That's
adult,
young
yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
15's
So
fine.
if you look at the second paragraph on the first page, you know, she breaks into middle school, but then in the second paragraph she says, the watery moonlight throws shadows across the floor and it seems smaller than she remembers.
So no, she's
So
a few years
I
out.
see her older.
Yeah.
So even if she's
Okay,
15,
that's fine.
16,
Yeah. I
Juno,
would
it
make her
still
teenage,
brings you
yeah.
into young adult.
Yep.
That's the
Right.
only thing I have about this. I mean, I love it.
Well, I'll
Well,
tell
yeah,
you,
go ahead.
the Beatles, she came in through the bathroom window.
no.
Wow, we
It's
have
playing
music
in my
now.
head. It's
Oh.
playing
This
in
is
my
the
head.
cafeteria.
She breaks into the cab. I need to know the reason for her angst. Why does she need to break in? I want the
Yeah.
tools she used as she broke in,
Yeah.
or she didn't because it was open. And I want her a little startled that there's a guy, nothing shakes her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lights go on and there's a
Yeah.
guy. And then instead of, gotta run and steal a book from the library because I'm mischievous, or I want to damage something because I'm angry, she asks, can I sit on the windowsill? Would you mind? Can I watch your work? I want a reason for her breaking in,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
motive.
I don't see any of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm with her the whole way.
Yes.
The only thing that I'm confused about, and it's not even a problem, is when she talks about an abandoned school building, is it at the end of the road with boards on the windows, or is it simply out for the day?
No.
Well, not
She
if there's
thinks
a
it's
janitor
abandoned.
inside.
She thinks no one's there for the day. It's
Oh,
a
no,
function
no.
in the school.
Abandoned means no one uses the school.
Yeah.
No. I think the author is indicating that it's abandoned for the day. She thinks no one's there. And
Exactly. but
lights
is-
on. Oh, the lights aren't on.
So
Well,
it's a
there
word
you go.
choice.
Lights on.
So it's a word
Right.
choice.
It's a word choice.
Yes, that's right.
Ah,
Yeah,
Is
it's closed.
the school at the end of the
Because it looks
road,
closed.
hasn't been used for 20 years and is
Yeah.
collapsing?
Can't
Or
be
is it
the
simply
washing
out for
floor.
the day?
He's
Yeah.
washing
Close to the day and
Yes.
the kids are gone.
yeah.
Right.
See, I need
That's where I
that.
took it.
But other than that, I can tell when I have a problem with a story, it's all red. You know, I do my corrections.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, look at this. There's
Barren.
there's very
Almost
little.
nothing.
I have
Like
very,
paragraph
very
paragraph
few
marks.
complaints about this at all.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
I would.
Well, let me go
read
to
on.
town then.
I have a
Go
lot
ahead,
too.
please.
Do I
Yes.
just had about semicolons, and I don't even remember them anymore.
Ah.
But I put that there were a lot of semicolons, and I wanted some of them to be periods, and I love semicolons.
Okay, grammar.
That was it. I mean, it's great.
So can I go through my?
Yes, please.
list? Okay, so I agree. I think this is more YA than middle grade. I think that, you know, she breaks into the middle school. And I think that the author is missing, first of all, let me just say I love this story, okay? But I just want to add some things that I think could strengthen it, that's all. But I think the writing is gorgeous and the story is very endearing, and I love Andy. I think he's very endearing. I wish he would speak in more full sentences, because he kind of comes across as, it reminded me, and this is going to sound insane, but it reminds me of Frankenstein's monster, like yes, hey, one word. Like, let him say a full sentence at least. Like, throw a.
But if he's injured,
Yes.
he can't.
Yeah.
Is he? But I didn't get that he has a speech problem.
No,
I-
he's
he has,
mentally.
he has
he's
scars
mental.
and he's deformed.
Right, mental
And,
capabilities.
but even with that, even with his one-word sentences, I still find him very endearing. So that's a compliment.
Which is kind of neat that she could get that across.
Yeah,
without
that's
It's brilliant.
that's impressive.
the
No,
writing,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree. But I agree with Julie. I think, why the middle school? Can she add something there? Is there a connection to her mother? Was her mother, when she was out of the military, working as a lunch lady or working as a teacher's aide so that she could be with her
point.
daughter
Yes.
after school? Like, I think you're
an
missing an
interesting thought.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I think you have to move.
Is that an important part of her lifetime?
Right, why that? And because she just goes in there and she hangs out. She can do that anywhere.
Yes.
So why there? And I think you can add some depth there. So I think it's a missed opportunity. That's all. And so I love the first line. I think the first line's fantastic.
I cut the first line.
I want to know how I want to know how old she is, and I think it's not clear, so it's smaller than she remembers. So I think to your point, like she's out of middle school. So
Yes.
again, it's not middle grade.
Sure.
It's young adult.
Sure.
I want I think that there has to be more about her mother being in the military a little further up, because for me, when she's talking about the military in him, and she recognizes the military in him, and I love her description of him. I love it.
Yes.
It's beautiful. But why is she familiar with it?
Right.
Move that up. I want to know that she's missing her mother, and it doesn't take any of the mystery away. It doesn't. You can still hold back, but I think she's holding back too much that it's causing some confusion. Just a little bit. A little bit.
Can I ask a question? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when I started reading this story, she climbs into, she doesn't know if it. I was thinking, like, okay, this is totally from this girl's point of view. Why not make it first person? Why is this in third person? And I wrote that down. Why third person? And then as I read, I wrote, never mind. I see why now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
good.
she can't say, because she's hiding lots of things.
Yes.
So there's lots of things that she can't say or recognize, and
So
you
we're
can't do that in
observing
first
her.
person.
No, but
so
you
in
can
third person you
still,
can.
You can still she doesn't. So she sees him, and I want a reaction. Like if she's not scared, why not? Like
Yes.
she's just not like
Not
the
that.
lights turn on.
That's
She
a good
all
point.
she says, not much surprises her. There still has to be a reaction, and there's no
Yes.
reaction. And I want to know why she didn't run. Why? What goes in her head that makes her go up and shake his hand? And I think it's fine that she does that.
I would
But
never shake
but
his
I want to
hands.
know what's going up in here as to why she didn't run, because that
Yes.
tells me about her.
Yes.
Because most kids would have flung right back out that window. This character didn't. Why? Right?
Yes.
And I think that again, another missing opportunity to add some depth here. And I want to say how old she was, and then she thinks of her mother several times. But how does that make her feel? Like, it's just like, her mother used to scratch the head. I thought that wording was kind of
Scritch, scritch, scritch.
awkward, but I like the scritch, 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 but it's, it sounds like how her mother's hand felt. That was kind of, but
Let's
I
not
understand
change that
what
verb.
she was
Yes,
saying.
yes.
I just need some rewording, but something must go through her head, even if it's like her stomach does something when she thinks of her mother.
See, I think she's holding this
Anything.
back.
Absolutely. I think it's
I think she's
for later on in the
So
story.
there's nothing? She's a blank slate?
Yeah.
Well,
No,
yeah.
no.
I don't
Physically,
know.
The
she
author's
looks-
holding back, or the character's
The
holding back her
child.
emotions?
The
Character's
child.
holding
Character.
back.
The
Well,
character.
the child has
She
probably,
is.
her
Well-
mother's away in the military. She's had to learn to probably ignore her
All right.
feelings to
And
survive.
it raises an interesting question. If you get that out of the story already, do you have to add to the story to get?
See, I don't think you do. I think
you
it was
need to-
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
if you understand it, if it's there, because you've interpreted, she's done a great job.
I didn't understand it until I read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
While it was happening, I was like,
That's good. That's good.
I did have to read it a couple
But
of
no,
times,
but it wasn't.
I like it more. and
It
more
wasn't
every time I read
intriguing. It was confusing for me.
Yeah.
And once I read the whole thing, and then I read it again, I'm like, all right, I understand. I still wanted to get into
Well, like I
it.
said, it had to grow on me, because like I said, when I first
Yeah.
started, it was like, why is this third person?
And
But
again,
then
I
it's
want
like,
to iterate. I love this
I get it.
story.
Yes.
But I think no one's critiquing it, so I want to just be the
Sure.
one. I'll be the curmudgeon today.
Go ahead.
No,
But
no,
I
you're
love the writing.
being
It's
critical.
beautiful.
Good.
I love the characters. I just want to be. I want to be able to just give some feedback. So, because at some point she says too much and she panics and she wants to get out of there.
Oh, is that
And
what
all she says is she realizes she said too much.
She gave away her background because she said, Dad won't worry.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right, but
Yeah.
why
She
does
wants
that
to
make
keep
her...
that-
All right, but why?
Exactly, read some more.
Yeah.
Put
we
it
need-
in there.
Yeah, we need more.
Get in her
Oh,
head.
Well,
later
I
on.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a
Yeah,
long
I
way
wanted
to
part
go.
of the story.
I would love to read the whole story.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
I
gonna ask.
want
Yes,
to read the
please,
whole
yes.
story.
I'm gonna ask.
And
her to read the
then
whole story.
why is she drawn to him? And I understand this, that it's the connection, the military
Because
connection.
of her mother.
He reminds her of her mother. And I think if she could just pepper a little bit more. It doesn't have to be paragraphs. Just pepper a little bit more as to what the connection is.
Do we know if her mother's alive or not?
I'm pretty sure
No.
she's
We
dead.
don't know, right?
No, I
No,
don't
because she
know.
says
We
past
don't know.
tense.
Yeah.
She says it's
Oh.
not parent, it's parents.
Yeah,
And
that
she
thing
says
is
the lie,
divorced.
The question
it's a
is the
lie.
present tense.
Right,
I
it's
was
a
a little
lie.
confused on
It's
that.
not
Oh.
present tense, it's past tense.
I thought that parents were divorced or mom was physically away, so right now it's dad who's in charge. It's
Yeah.
dad
You know,
who connects with her.
Like, there's a paragraph on page 5 where she says, at length,
Right. I
she
had
asks,
actually had a hard time with
what
this
branch
one,
were
though.
you? He
Yes.
stares, and she says, my mom's in the military. And you look like her.
Yes.
I would move that up in the story. Maybe
Uh-huh.
even when she's in the cafeteria.
Yes,
That
sure.
when she's in the cafeteria.
Yes,
That
sure.
would help me immensely make that connection.
Yeah.
And I think that paragraph, just moving that one paragraph up,
Mm-hmm.
would change the whole thing for me.
Oh, see, now that I've read this like 5 times, now I get that it's half a lie. So maybe she's in the military, but now she's dead.
Yes.
And it doesn't give it
Okay.
away that the mother's dead. The mother could be deployed.
Yes.
It's not taking away from the mystery.
So what makes it half a lie?
Because
Because she said then half of one they do look alike. So then you look like her as that half, and then the other half, my mom's in the military. She's not in the military anymore. So
Right.
that's
okay,
that's
so
the
maybe
lie.
Yeah.
Okay,
When she
so
says
maybe-
it's the tense.
you're
it's-
right.
No, you look like her. I mean, he doesn't fully
But-
look like her. He has the
well,
same hairstyle. It could be a few things. We'd have to ask Bailey. I would like to know. I like scritch, scritch, scritch. I like the
Yeah, I like that.
the quick scene of the mom scratching her head because that's such a comfort to her. But is there something similar with the dad? Is there something she shared with her dad? Does she have a fondness for her dad? I'm curious. About
One thing
relationship.
that I liked about this is the fact that she breaks into a place.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and that
Alone.
is something,
Yeah.
alone. And that's something that appeals to me because at one point in my life, I liked going into places where you're not supposed to be.
Ed,
Like
I
these-
am learning so much about
another
you.
Like
side of
these
you.
Empty buildings or abandoned buildings, and it's like, and why would you do that? And it's like curiosity.
That's
Oh.
it. Yeah.
And
He killed the cat, though.
well,
Curiosity
yeah.
killed the cat. Ed.
There's no ulterior,
But,
There's
you
no
don't want to
cats.
wreck anything.
No.
What's in there?
Not take anything,
Yeah.
not just to
Wow.
see.
Just for the
Just
challenge.
to, yeah.
But I think again, I think it's just an opportunity to add some depth why she chose that building.
Well, were you
That's all.
about this age? Could you relate? Were you a teenager when you did that? Or was it last week?
No, it was more like after college.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
'Cause
so you were
wanted
like
her
an adult
motivation.
felon.
Yeah,
I always went into houses
tried as
when
an
they were
adult.
being built.
Maybe
as
we'll
a
cut that
teenager.
part out of the video.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
So do we have anything else? Does anyone have anything
No,
else?
I love it, and I'd
Yeah,
really
me too.
like
I
I'd
would
like
love
to-
to read the
this
book.
I
author
would
to
too.
send us the entire story
I am
when
going
it's
to
done.
ask her because
Yeah.
I do too.
Pollyanna say this the nicest way. I don't love it. I want to love it, but I'm so disturbed as a mother that there's a teenage girl who says we have to walk there because I can't get in a car with strangers. But she asked this guy out to go to a diner, and they're looked at funny by the waitress. She's a teenage girl. He's a guy in his 30s. It says, and I'm disturbed by that because I hope nothing happens.
Okay. And can I just, I had my, because this was labeled as middle grade, I had my 11-year-old daughter read it. And because I loved it. And I didn't tell my daughter if I liked it or not. And she said, so she would be middle grade, which again is why I think this is young adult.
Yes.
But she said, Mom, why would she break into a school? And so I'm paraphrasing. Why would she, kids don't break into schools. They're dying to get out. And she should not be. Like, he's a stranger. She should have run. And then why would she go out to dinner? Like, you would kill me if I did that. And that's what the 11-year-old was focused on.
Yes.
So,
Good for her.
and I'm like, yes, I trained her well.
Raised her
But
well.
I'm like, but Sam, I love this story. And she's like, but she couldn't get past that.
Yeah.
So
But
again, yeah.
It's probably true, but isn't that good for discussion?
I said to her,
I mean,
said,
it just
Sam,
raises
I
all
did.
kinds of problems.
Yeah, I said, and I said to her, I'm like, Sam, well, first it's fiction, and it's a story, so like it's okay because it's not real. She couldn't get past it, and I'm like, would you have kept reading? And she said no.
Ah.
So again, but that's why I think it's YA. I don't think this is middle grade. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, from my point of view, you call it young adult, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I love it, and I am going to write you and ask you to send us the rest.
Yeah.
And if you're agree to that, maybe we'll post that too.
Yeah.
Even if we don't critique it. So I think we've said enough. I don't even know how to summarize this one. Just really well done. Jen gave some good points on how to start it off, and that's about it. So thank you so much for sending this in. And thank you everyone else for watching. We will see you next time. Keep fighting. Very good.
Yep, so this is a good one.
Yeah.
Feel the applause.
Military. Interesting that he reminds her of the mother. But his hair is wild. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I would think he'd have a short military hair. Oh, she does mention crew cut. He has
Have you
a
ever
crew
read
cut, but it's
anything
wild.
about post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah, something like that. Or,
No, have you?
Not a lot, but
Oh, I mean, because I totally saw it.
yeah.
But
that
I've
he
done a
was
lot of research on that.
yeah,
so-
emotionally.
Right.
Oh no, I'm not saying his behavior. I'm saying his hair.
No,
Is it-
even his hair.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, sure.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
see that even his
No,
hair.
no, but
like,
she
He was
says,
hi-
but
he
she
was
says your
hiding.
hair.
but
His
he
hair
was
reminds her of the
fastidious about
military.
how he cleans.
He was,
Yeah.
he's
Yes,
good at his
It's
job.
military. It's military,
Oh, yeah.
right?
The
Right.
first thing that
And the
goes
way
is
he
personal
walks.
hygiene.
And the way he walks.
That's the first thing that goes.
Yeah.
When you start to lose personal
right.
hygiene.
Right.
Start to shave, you forget to wash your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the kind of job he has,
Yeah.
it's
But
at night,
it's
he's by
alone.
himself.
Yes,
Right.
What he
In the
wants.
dark.
In the
Yeah.
dark.
Doesn't have to deal with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone out of the
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there are a couple of interesting, like Sook and his great aunt. They're just meshed to deal with each other. And
Yeah.
I thought it was perfectly written and elegantly written because there wasn't a lot of description.
Yeah.
But you came away with the proper impression. I think
Right.
it was great stuff.
And I think so too. I think I had to get into it the second time.